New year, new pay-per-view. Will it be the same old WCW nonsense? Well, we shall find out together as World Championship Wrestling presents Sin. The date is January 14th, 2001. We're live from Indianapolis. 6,617 are in attendance with a pretty miserable 80,000 watching at home. We have Tony Schiavone and Scott Hudson on the call, which is a welcome relief to not have to deal with Mark Madden. In our main event tonight sees Scott Steiner defend his world title in a four corners match against Sid Vicious, Jeff Jarrett and a mystery opponent who's been popping up on WCW programming these past few weeks. Will this mystery man's identity be revealed? Well, yeah, but you'll find out who it is a bit later on. We kick off the show with Cruiserweight champion Chavo Guerrero defending against Sugar Shane Helms. Before the bout, Shane tells his three-count associate Shannon Moore that he wants to do this on his own, and Shannon says, "No sweat, big man." Sugar Shane defeated Shannon to become #1 contender on Nitro a few weeks back, and now Shane wants to prove he can get it done in singles competition by rising to the top of the Cruiserweight division. The two men show off their grappling prowess in the early going, with Shane targeting Chavo's arm with an armbar and then with a hammerlock. A kick to the midsection puts Chavo in control before delivering a few hard chops to the chest, but Shane comes back with a head scissor takedown and he then drops Chavo across his knee from a fireman's carry position. Chavo recovers enough to send Shane to the outside, but when he goes out to the floor, Chavo gets introduced to the guardrail. Back in the ring, the competitors share near falls, but Chavo puts a stop to that with an Alabama slam before delivering a blatant low blow right in front of the referee. The official does nothing because WCW, I guess. Chavo's dropkick gets followed up with some early chin abuse. The fans have already got their money's worth. Shane gets out and the two share some counters before the challenger scores with an atomic drop and a neckbreaker, which leaves both men on the mat. Must say, the crowd are really into this one, and even more so as Shane delivers an X-Plex for another near fall. Helms connects with his sugar smack super kick, but Chavo gets his foot on the ropes. The challenger once again gets dumped over the top to the floor. The champion gets some hang time on his dive to the outside, which wipes out Helms before bringing his opponent back inside the ropes. Chavo looks to hit the brainbuster, but it's countered, and this time it's Guerrero getting sent out to the floor. To prove he too can fly, Shane dives off the top with a big crossbody. It's amazing how those trousers didn't cause any wind resistance considering the size of them, but nevertheless, Shane goes back up top and scores with a sunset flip for a 2 count. Helms calls for the vertebreaker, it gets blocked, so Shane settles for the Nightmare on Helm Street, but Chavo gets a shoulder up before the count of 3. The challenger goes for it again, but this time it's successfully countered and Chavo scores with his brainbuster for the pin and the win. Chavo retains his Cruiserweight title in a fine opener. A real coming out party for Helms, and Chavo really helped him shine. Although, as has been the case with WCW for the longest time now, this is more than likely going to be the high point of the in-ring action here tonight. Earlier today, Mike Tenay caught up with CEO Ric Flair and he asked him about who the mystery man is. Flair said all will be revealed when the time is right, and that whoever this guy is, he will rock Steiner's world to the very foundations. My. Mean Gene's backstage with the newly reformed Mama Luke's. He informs us that Johnny the Bull has been barred from ringside by Mike Sanders for this upcoming match between Vito and Reno. Vito says that no matter what happens tonight, he will always wind up on top. Yeah, sure mate, we all totally believe you. This rivalry's been so hard to follow that I'm pretty sure even WCW's given up trying to make it make sense at this point. There's girlfriends who turned out to be sisters, beatdowns on both men by Chronic, but Reno actually paid off Chronic to take out Vito from this. You know what? Who actually cares? I mean, really, who gives any semblance of a shit about all this? The two lads go nose to nose before Vito slaps Reno right in the mush. Reno immediately floors Vito with a right hand before scoring with a power slam and a follow-up knee drop. To the outside we go, hooray, and Vito gets sent into the guardrail and the ring steps. Back in the ring, Reno keeps controlling the corner, but Vito explodes out of the opposite corner with a clothesline. Reno gets set on the top rope and Vito hits a big superplex for a 2 count. After a backdrop, Vito charges at Reno in the corner, but he gets sidestepped and Vito runs into the ring post before falling to the outside. More ringside shenanigans ensue, which makes me wonder, do countouts no longer exist in WCW? Back in the ring, and another clothesline drops Vito. This match hasn't been pretty by any stretch, but I guess it at least feels like a fight between two guys who don't like each other, so that's something I suppose. That being said, there's only so many punches and clubs to the back that you can really watch. We do finally see something different as Vito scores with a desperation mafia kick, and we do see a nice double underhook overhead belly to belly. Try saying that 5 times fast. Before Vito heads up top for the Vito special elbow. It doesn't get the job done, meaning it's not all that special. A roll of the dice gets countered with a Northern Light suplex, but Vito's next attempted suplex gets countered, and Reno does hit his finisher to pick up the victory at Sin. If you like punches and clotheslines, then you'll love this, but for the rest of us, we'll just give this one a miss in the future. Hopefully though, this is the end of this feud and both lads can move on to different opponents. I'm absolutely done with this rivalry. Backstage, Mike Sanders is taking the piss out of Brian Adams, which we have all done at some point, but Mike still hands over a wad of cash to procure his services for tonight. Clark then shows up saying that he received a better offer, so it looks like our boy Mike may well be suffering from a bit of buyer's remorse later on. Up next, we've got an unannounced tag team match as the Young Dragons take on Knoble and Karagias. Now, as much as I like these 4 guys, we could have done with leaving this match off the card, to be honest. It'll definitely be one of the better bouts of the evening, no doubt about it, but this was already a bloated card, so it wouldn't have hurt to have left this one off until Nitro. Kaz and Evan kick us off with some slugfestery, and after some counters and reversals, Evan hits the mat hard from a wheelbarrow suplex. Jamie gets taken down with a head scissors and both he and Evan retreat to the floor. Their reprieve doesn't last long as the Dragons connect with stereo acai moonsaults. Great timing, lads. Back inside, Knoble and Jung do some impressive work before, yet again, heading outside. Kaz gets dropped right on his Hayashis on the top rope, but he's able to counter Evan's attempted superplex, though his attempted crossbody gets countered with a dropkick from Karagias. Some teamwork from Evan and Jamie with a side slam leg drop combo, and Knoble comes in with a back suplex and a flying forearm. Jamie and Evan are able to keep Kaz on the back foot, including a nice military press into a spinebuster from Karagias. I wonder if Billy Boy Goldberg was pissed about him stealing his move. Bit of a scary moment as Evan slips when going for a springboard moonsault, but he's able to rotate enough to complete the move. Still missed it though, and that gives Kaz the opportunity to regroup and boot Jamie's head into the 6th row at ringside. Jung finally gets the tag and he gets to wrecking his opponents, including a nasty dragon screw to Jamie and his corner backflip kick to Evan. All 4 men get in for a scrap and Evan wipes out Kaz with a big crossbody to the outside. Jung gets set up on the top rope and Jamie goes for a Hurricane Rana. It gets blocked and Jung scores with a middle row powerbomb for a near fall. Evan takes out Jung with a neckbreaker before hitting a gorgeous 450 splash, but it only gets a 2. And our match comes to a pretty weird end as Jung goes for the Jung time, but it looks like Jamie was a little too close to the ropes and he ends up missing it. So he quickly rolls Jamie up with a small package for the pinfall win. Part of me thinks that the Jung time was supposed to end it, so they had to quickly improvise the roll-up. You can see that Jung looks pretty upset after the bout, but either way, this was a really fun match as you would expect from these boys. I know I said that this match could have been cut, but considering what else is coming up on this show, maybe it was for the best that it was kept on and maybe they should have cut something else, like our next match perhaps. A ridiculous looking automobile enters the arena next and 2 ridiculous looking fellas get out of it as Totally Buffed have arrived at the building. They're taking on Goldberg and Sarge later tonight with Billy Boy's career on the line, and Lex mentioned something about a plan B, so I wonder will that come into play during the match. I don't know, but my gut says maybe. Up next, Christ alive, it's Mike Sanders versus Ernest the Cat Miller with the WCW Commissionership on the line. How many times in the past 6 months has this Commissioner stipulation been wheeled out? It seems like every other week at this rate. These two had a stinker at Halloween Havoc, so of course it makes sense to run it back on another pay-per-view. Sanders says that being Commissioner pays pretty well, which I doubt, and he has no intention of giving that cash up. He then says that Miss Jones' services are also on the line here. On Thunder, Mike explained that Miss Jones was hired as the Commissioner's assistant, and if Miller loses this match, well, he won't need a Commissioner's assistant anymore. Here comes the Cat and the lovely Miss Jones down to the ring. Ernest says that when he becomes commissioner again, he, along with the people, will take WCW back to the top. Ah mate, who's gonna tell him, eh? After copious amounts of time wasting, Sanders attacks from behind and he takes the early advantage. Do remember, Sanders gave Chronic a load of cash earlier on. Was it for this match or the tag match later on? More importantly, does anyone care? Cat takes Sanders down with a shoulder block and Mr. Above Average rolls to the outside, but he attacks Miller when the Cat looks to follow him back inside. Ernest gets choked out in the corner, but he comes back with some well-placed kicks before laying in some shots in the corner. A Greco-Roman nutshot from the commissioner puts him back in the driver's seat and he keeps the Cat on the mat with a Cobra clutch. Cat gets to his feet and we see the wiggly elbow and the splits uppercut. Sanders suckers Ernest in and we go back to the outside where the commissioner grabs a chair. Miss Jones stops him from using it though, and she even kicks Sanders in the back before grabbing the chair and chasing Sanders back into the ring. While the ref's busy with all this nonsense, even more nonsense ensues on the other side of the ring as Stasiak and Jindrak come down and they put the boots to the Cat. But hold the bloody phone boyos, because here comes Chronic to make the save. Clark puts Sanders on the mat, he stuffs a wad of bills in his gub, and those bills immediately come flying back out again as the Cat scores with the feliner to win the match and regain the commissionership. I mean, yeah, what can you say about this one really? It was short, at least. Half of it was filled with gaga and interference, so it's hard to really rate this one as a match. Does this mean that Chronic are babyfaces now? Will Sanders look to get his revenge? These questions and many more will no doubt get answered in the following weeks on Monday Nitro. Bill Goldberg and Ric Flair look at totally buff arriving at the arena earlier on. Flair relays to Goldberg that their plan B is to probably get Goldberg DQ'd, the scheming bastards. So to counter this, Flair makes the match a no disqualification bout. That way, their plan B will become a non-factor. Flair then asks Bill to sign some jabroni's picture, and I'm sure this gobshite won't factor into the match later on. Nope, not a single bit. Speaking of gobshites, Double J's with Mean Gene, and Jarrett says he's sick of people trying to stir the pot between himself and Scott Steiner. He says he's the only one Steiner can trust in our main event match and that he's here to watch the champions back. Oh goody, here comes Jim Duggan, and he's wearing a referee shirt because it's time for Team Canada to take on the Filthy Animals in a penalty box match. What is a penalty box match, I hear you ask? Well, basically, if you break the rules, you get sent to the penalty box and your team's at a disadvantage. Surely Duggan can't be an impartial official in this match though, what with his history with Team Canada and all. The Canadian coach enters the arena without the graffiti that the Animals defaced it with a few weeks ago on Thunder. Lance says that Team Canada will serve some Canadian justice tonight, and that despite him being in the Animals' pocket, Duggan will be forced to raise the Canadians' hands after this one's over. The anthem gets interrupted as per usual, and here comes the Filthy Animals. Duggan says that this match is one fall to a finish, and the rules include no double teaming, no low blows, no striking the official, and no outside interference. Anyone caught breaking the rules will get sent to the penalty box until the red light on the box goes off. And yep, this is going to be an absolute clusterfuck, isn't it? Ray Jr. and Lance are going to kick us off, and Storm gets taken over with the springboard head scissors, but Mysterio gets his little Ray dropped on the top rope as a receipt. Lance and Duggan have a few words, so Primetime takes the opportunity to lay in a few boots. He gets caught by Hacksaw, and thus he gets sent to the penalty box. Mike Awesome's not a fan of this call, and he accidentally makes contact with Jim when going back to his corner. This is enough for Duggan to send him to the box, and this is some Premier League level refereeing going on here, lads. It's absolutely ridiculous. So Lance is left all alone against the Animals, who use quick tags to keep each other fresh and wear down the Team Canada leader. Conan uses Ray as a weapon on Storm, and hang on, wouldn't that be classed as double teaming, Jim? The light goes off in the box, and both Awesome and Skipper rejoin the match just as Ray scores with his springboard splash. Lance is finally able to make a tag, but Elix doesn't fare particularly well as Kidman keeps control. Awesome involves himself again, and again he gets sent to the penalty box. It's an easy night for Mr. Awesome. Jim then sends Lance to the box for arguing? What the fuck's going on here? Right, so it's back to 3-on-1 as K-Dog comes in with his rolling lariat before tying Skipper up in a submission hold. Ray gets the tag and he drops the dime as the Canadians are released from the box. Matrix escape from Skipper, but he gets dropped with a reverse DDT from Conan. We saw that before on Thunder, but no one else did because no one watches Thunder. Big Mike Awesome gets the tag and he asserts his dominance until he gets taken down with the head scissors. The ladies then have some words on the outside which distracts Duggan, so Ray looks to deliver a Bronco Buster despite not being the legal man. He gets caught by Duggan and both Ray and Kidman go to the box. I understand Ray, but what did Kidman do? This match is falling apart like a flan in a cupboard, or like your last serious relationship. Big power slam from Awesome gets a 2 count, while on the outside Tigris gets a hold of a water bottle and Major Guns gets hosed down, much to the delight of the perverts in Indiana and you degenerates watching at home. The ladies have a scrap before Duggan pulls them apart and puts them both in their respective penalty boxes. This fella's getting a proper eyeful of the Major, what a dirtbag. Springboard leg drop from Skipper before he locks in a devastating chin lock, although probably not the best idea considering it'll run down the clock on your team's advantage, prime time. The fans chant USA to encourage a dude who was born in Cuba, but it doesn't seem to help as the Canadians stay in control. It should be pointed out that the time guys are spending in their penalty boxes is totally random with no consistency at all. Saying that, the Animals and Major get released as Conan hits the K-Factor on Lance before making the tag to Kidman, and Billy runs wild, brother. A bunch of the lads end up on the outside where Awesome looks to cut Kidman's hair. Oh, fuck, right, okay. Anyway, this gets him put in the box along with Primetime for some reason. Kidman delivers the Kid Crusher, Awesome breaks the count and Mike hits the Awesome Bomb, but he's not legal. Back to the box he goes as Lance pops on the Maple Leaf, and after some confusion, Duggan calls for the bell and Team Canada win this absolute mess of a match. I don't think I even need to say anything. You saw the state of this one and you know how bad it was. What a waste of all these guys' talents. Mike Tenay's backstage with the Natural Born Thrillers and Sean O'Hare's sick Rage Against the Machine shirt. Sanders says the Chronic will get what's coming to them, Palumbo and O'Hare will regain the tag team titles, and Chucky P says that in 5 years' time the Thrillers will own this business while the Insiders will be nowhere to be found. Sweet naive Chucky. That match will be on the docket later on, but right now it's a 3-way dance for the hardcore title. Terry Funk defends his gold against both Crowbar and Meng. Meng stole the physical belt, but Terry is the reigning champion going into this one. Speaking of the Dirty Funker, he gets some water thrown on him by a fan as he's making his way to the ring. A fan who looks an awful lot like Daphne. She gets dragged over the guardrail, but this distraction allows Crowbar to hit Terry with a cherry and the fight's on. Funk continues to take chair shots at the side of the rampway and the two fight backstage. In a fitting turn of events, the two brawl into the shitters, and what a glorious metaphor this is for the dying days of WCW. Funk attacks with a bin and the trash can goes everywhere, which pisses me off because someone just cleaned that and now you're making them do it all over again. No respect, I tells you. Daphne destroys the ears of anyone watching this show while wearing headphones, and oh, hello Meng, nice of you to join us. More scrappy brawling ensues, and you don't need me to tell you how these matches go. Just bop each other with whatever you can find for about 10 minutes and that'll do. To be fair though, Terry launching this trash can at Meng was pretty great. The Minger then gets a load of tables stacked on him for good measure, and Terry and Crowbar exchange more chair shots. They fight their way to a conveniently placed table, Terry gets put on it, and Crowbar leaps from the bleachers, crashing Funk through the table. Meng and Crowbar then fight up onto the stage. Crowbar counters a suplex on the steel, but he can't get out of the way of Meng's food as he takes a sidekick. Funk comes back into the fight and he whacks Meng with a, and I quote, snow snovel, which seems to set off a dentist drill inside the arena. Is Isaac Yankem about to make a run in here or what? The only way I can explain this is the guys in the truck hit the wrong button when trying to pipe in crowd noise. I don't know. Funk then leans one of the guardrails against another rail. He slams Crowbar through it, bending the barricade in half. Daphne doesn't look too happy about this. More chair shots as we head back down to the ring where Crowbar tries to pulmonize Funk's knee with a chair, first stomping on it and then landing on it with a springboard splash. Crowbar screams at Terry to fight back, so the Funker obliges. He gets locked in the figure 4 though, and Meng decides to break it up with a top rope splash before hitting a pile driver on Crowbar. Funk breaks up the follow-up cover. They then gang up on the Menger with chair shots, but the alliance is short-lived as Terry gets whacked, and this is where our match ends, folks. Crowbar gets the chair kicked in his face before Meng applies the death grip on Terry. Funk gets taken to the mat and his shoulders get pinned for the 1, 2, 3. Meng is the new hardcore champion. In the match, well, typical WCW hardcore bollocks really, and this stuff is more than outstayed its welcome at this point. So much so that almost immediately after this show, Meng, who just won the belt remember, says balls to this and he leaves the company. I can't really sum things up any better than that, ladies and gents. Ric Flair tells the new commissioner that he's looking forward to working with him and that he has the rest of the night off. I would say it's a good chance to beat the traffic, but who am I kidding? There's no traffic around this arena tonight. Big Sid's wearing all the denim he can find, and is it just me or does this hat look tiny on his head? Sid must have forgotten his strepsils as he whispers that he's the original madman of WCW. He's gonna chokeslam everyone and he will stand alone as WCW champion. Mate, I don't think you're going to be doing a whole lot of standing later on, but be that as it may. Tag team title time as the Insiders defend against the Natural Born Thrillers, Palumbo and O'Hare to be specific. The Thrillers won a tag team battle royal on the December 20th, 2000 episode of Thunder to earn this shot, a video that you can watch on the channel right now by the way. So let's see how they got on, shall we? The champions make their way down to the ring, but we then hear the Thrillers theme music again and here comes the rest of the lads. Sanders says that Nash was a good coach, so like any good coach, if Sanders needs to make a substitution at any point during this match, then he's going to do so. Ric Flair's music then hits, and the Nature Boy tells Mike that he isn't the commissioner anymore, so he can't make these types of decisions. It'll be Palumbo and O'Hare doing this all on their own as he tells the rest of the Thrillers to hit the bricks. DDP and Chucky P start us off as they exchange right hands, and Chuck goes down after a clothesline. Page follows this up with a Uranagi for a 2 count. Palumbo decides to take a breather, DDP decides to tag in Nash, so Palumbo brings in Shawn. Big slam from Big Sexy followed by a big boot and a big right hand. There's the patented Nash corner offense, but it backfires when he sends O'Hare into the opposite corner. The big man backflips over Kev out of the corner and he puts him down with a super kick. This guy is nothing short of ridiculous. Ridiculous in the best way possible. Both Thrillers put the boots in the big sexual Kevin as Page watches on from the apron. We get a barrage of rights from Palumbo in the corner, but his float over attempt gets caught and Palumbo rolls snake eyes before taking a jumping teabag and a clothesline. Page flies off the top of the clothesline for a 2 count, but an O'Hare distraction allows Chuck to hit the jungle kick, which the camera just barely catches. Page continues to get battered by the challengers for the next few minutes as they keep each other fresh with quick tags. They toy with Page right in front of Nash before keeping more pressure on DDP. Palumbo hooks Page for a tombstone, but Dallas is able to reverse it and it's Chuck who gets dropped on his noggin. This allows Page to make the tag and here comes Big Kev. Kev wrecks the challengers with sidewalk slams and big boots before pulling the straps down. But hang on, here comes the rest of the Natural Born Thrillers again and Lex Luger coming out of the crowd? Okay. Luger grabs a chair as Palumbo takes a jackknife inside the ring. Page and Luger fight over the guardrail, but the chair's been left inside the ropes. Nash sets O'Hare up for a jackknife, but Buff Bagwell whacks him from behind with a wrench before buggering off up the ramp. The referee was distracted by the rest of the Thrillers and so he didn't see any of this happen. And O'Hare puts Nash in position for the Sean Tom bomb. Just like that, the Thrillers regain the WCW Tag Team titles, and honestly, I thought this match was okay, right up until the last few minutes. WCW have cut back on the countless amounts of interference, but they slip back into their old habits right here, and the finish was a huge letdown. Anyway, the Natural Born Thrillers have the gold, and the Insiders may have a bone to pick with both Luger and Bagwell. Mike Tenay catches up with the Thrillers, and Sanders says that while he may not be the commissioner anymore, the lads still have plenty to celebrate. We then see Ric Flair getting into his limo saying it's showtime. Does that hint that the mystery man could be the Stinger? No, it doesn't. Oh, fuck off. Right, it's time for the US title match, General Rection versus Shane Douglas. I could not be more sick of either of these guys, so let's just get through this as quickly and as painlessly as possible. So this one is a first blood chain match, a first blood chain on a chain match, if you will. Shane cuts a promo before the match as per usual, same old stuff, I'll become the new US champion, I'm the franchise, I'm fucking brilliant, blah blah blah. Here comes Rection as Tony and Scott hype him up to the max for no discernible reason. And here we go, the first man to bleed loses. The referee checks Shane to see if he has a chain on his person, but don't worry lad, that chain type object down the front of his tights is nothing to worry about. He just has a weird shaped knob and he's actually very sensitive about it, so back off, ginger ref. It just so happens that Shane also has a chain in his tights, so that gets taken away and Shane attacks Rection from behind. Just had a thought, if someone bleeds but it's not because of the chain, then what happens? No doubt WCW will allay my fears with concrete and substantial answers, so I shouldn't worry. A knuckle lock from Rection takes Shane down to the mat. Exciting stuff, matched only by a riveting arm drag. The commentary team say that even if it's a scuffed elbow, that qualifies as first blood. So tell me, dear viewer, what the fuck is there a chain hanging above the ring for? The lads lay in right hands to each other, but Shane takes control with a low blow. The General comes back with a top rope clothesline. The no laughing matter moonsault gets interrupted as Rection gets dropped on the top turnbuckle. Shane decides to go over the champion's left knee in a first blood match by locking in a figure 4. Rection fights out and he sends the franchise over the top rope to the floor and the boys go into the fans briefly before coming back over the rail. Shane wraps Rection's knee around the ring post in a standing figure 4 before popping on a chinlock in a, I remind you once again, a fucking first blood match. Yes, we all love a chinlock, but surely these boys are doing this just to take the piss, right? Both guys get to their feet. A gorilla press slam from Rection gives the champion time to go under the ring and grab a ladder, presumably to go after the chain. I mean, mate, why not just hit him with the ladder? Oh, right, he did. Fair enough then. Anyway, the ladder gets sent up and Rection grabs the chain. Douglas pushes the ladder down and the ref gets taken out in the process. Shane reaches into his boot and imagine my astonishment, it's another chain. Rection gets whacked, Douglas hides the evidence, he takes the chain that Rection retrieved and he wraps it around his fist. The referee checks on Rection, who's been busted open, and Shane Douglas wins this match and the US title. As you may have gathered, I was not a fan of this match. Hopefully now these two never have a reason to wrestle each other ever again, because they have had two absolute stinkers 2 shows in a row. Mean by God Jane is with WCW champion Scotty Steiner, who says that he knows he can't trust Sid, the mystery man, or Ric Flair. The only people Scott can trust are his freaks. Flair can keep lining them up and Scotty will keep knocking them down. Man, this show just keeps going on, doesn't it? It's time for Totally Buff versus Goldberg and Sarge. Buff and Luger have made this pretty personal over the past few weeks, but Billy Boy's looking to shut these two up for good tonight at Sin. As always, if Goldberg loses, then he's gone from WCW, and my advice is, just lay down and take the pin. You'll be doing yourself a favour, mate. Michael Buffer earns his perfectly reasonable paycheck by telling fans that this is a no DQ match and that if either Goldberg or Sarge gets pinned or submits, then it's bye bye Billy Boy. Lex and Buff come to the ring first, here comes the Sarge, and I'm sorry, but how did this nobody ever get the position of being a head trainer anywhere? I mean, he was only ever a jobber at best, and he's not exactly the most technically sound performer you'll ever see. He must have had some dirt on someone at WCW, it's the only explanation. Anyway, here comes Goldberg, and to be fair, the fans are making a whole heap of noise for him. Bagwell and Luger take some time out on the apron as the bell rings to start the match, but eventually Luger steps up to Goldberg and we're underway. Lex gets shoved into the corner and Goldberg gets in a few hard shots before taking to the air to deliver a flying shoulder tackle. Luger gets suplexed into the corner and Buff looks a tad hesitant to tag in. He needn't have worried though, as he's able to take Goldberg over with a vertical suplex. But Billy Boy says, "I'm not selling that, brother," and he gets right back to his feet. Buff gets planted with Goldberg's military press spinebuster before Bill tags in Sarge, who's not so large but in charge. He does spend more time mouthing off than doing any actual moves, but he eventually puts Buff down with a body slam and he then scores with an elbow drop from the ropes. A jawbreaker from Buff swings the momentum back to totally Buff, and Luger distracts the ref as Sarge gets sent into the guardrail. Luger and Bagwell stay in control, including but not limited to a chin lock. I'll be honest guys, I never thought I'd get tired of seeing chin locks, but this show's making me rethink a few things. Sarge continues to get battered until he creates some separation with a vertical suplex, allowing him to get out. Goldberg runs through Buff and Lex, including his pump handle overhead suplex, which does look pretty great. Lex is then seen getting into it with a fan at ringside, the same fan Goldberg took the picture with earlier tonight. Billy Boy takes Luger out, but the wee bastard in the front row sprays something in Bill's eyes, leaving him vulnerable to a chair shot from Lex. So even though Russo isn't here, it's a swerve bro, and for those wondering, John Laurinaitis is now head of creative. Take from that what you will. Goldberg tries to fight back, but his vision's been compromised and he gets smacked with a chair from Luger. Goldberg gets put in the electric chair position and Totally Buff hit a doomsday blockbuster, which was pretty damn sweet. Luger makes the cover, the ref counts to 3, and Bill Goldberg is gone from WCW. So yeah, all of these big tough wrestlers couldn't beat Goldberg, but some dude who's built like a pube and who we have never seen before or ever will again is able to put an end to Goldberg's WCW career. This isn't hyperbole either folks, this is the last time Goldberg would appear on WCW television, which means this is his exit from Reliving the War. This whole thing was to write Goldberg off for shoulder surgery, but as it happens, he wouldn't get the chance to come back before WCW closed its doors. So yeah, WCW's biggest homegrown star is off TV, never to return. Finally, we come to the main event, Scott Steiner defending his WCW title against Jeff Jarrett, Sid Vicious and the Mystery Man. Now, I haven't mentioned it so far because you all know the one big incident from this show that takes place during this main event, Sid's infamous leg break. Just as a heads up before we get into it, I won't be showing what happens because A, it's absolutely horrific and if you were in that same position, you wouldn't want people to see it yourself. And B, if you've been on the internet for any period of time, you've already seen it, so there's no need for me to put it in this video. If for some reason you're desperate to see it, then you can go find it elsewhere on YouTube, but you won't be seeing it here. Right, now that that's all out of the way, let's get to the match. The first 3 competitors make their way to the ring, but there's no sign of the Mystery Man. Ric Flair comes to the entranceway and he says yes, there will be a mystery opponent in this bout, but Flair never stated when he would appear. So the match is going to start right now as a triple threat. Steiner wants to go after Flair, but Jarrett convinces the world champion to come back to the ring and work over Sid as a team. That doesn't go over brilliantly as Steiner gets sent into the guardrail and Jarrett gets taken down with a back elbow. Sid proceeds to wreck both Jarrett and Steiner back inside the ropes. Steiner takes some mounted punches in the corner, but Jarrett reverses Sid's Irish whip and Sid eats some shoe leather before getting taken down with a belly to belly from the world champion. Jarrett doesn't break up Steiner's cover, so maybe he does have Scotty's back in this one after all. Scott drops the elbow before doing his mid-match push-ups and we go back to the outside. Sid just keeps running when he gets sent into the guardrail, which does look pretty hilarious. I'll bet he wished he stayed in the crowd though because he gets waffled with the big gold belt upon his return to ringside. Sid does fire back up in the ring, but he's unable to hit the powerbomb on Double J as Steiner interrupts. They look to suplex Sid, but the big man counters and it's Steiner and Jarrett getting taken for a ride and Sid stays in control with a double clothesline before delivering big boots to both of his opponents. Jarrett ends up taking a chokeslam, but Steiner breaks up the pinfall, although he ends up taking a Cobra Clutch Slam from Big Sid. Jarrett gets sent over the guardrail and into the audience just as we cut backstage to see Ric Flair retrieving the Mystery Man. When we cut back to the ring, Sid's already on the mat with his leg visibly broken. Contrary to popular belief, the leg break wasn't shown on the live version of this event. The production crew had cut to the back right before Sid came off the ropes. The videos and footage that we've seen from this incident were shown on Nitro the following night, so there you go, the more you know. Your heart goes out to Sid though, who just has to lie there, no doubt in a state of shock as this whole Mystery Man angle still has to play out. Steiner does his best to kill time and stall until Flair's music hits, and here comes the Mystery Man, slowly sauntering down to the ring. He gets inside the ropes and he attacks Sid with a weak punch before Steiner quickly pins Sid to win the match. The commentators are confused as this guy's been a thorn in Steiner's side for so long, but he's now helped him retain the World Championship. We finally get the reveal, and it's Road Warrior Animal. Yeah, main event Road Warrior Animal. What a fucking bust, even all these years later. But do remember who I said earlier on was now head of creative. Yeah, Animal's lovable brother, John Laurinaitis. Tony and Mark try to frame it like Animal stabbed Flair in the back here, but because of the injury to Sid, the show goes off the air prematurely. The following was shown the next night on Nitro, as after Sin faded to black, Flair came out and told everyone that this whole thing was a ruse and that he, Steiner, Animal, Jarrett, Buff Bagwell and Lex Luger were all in this together and they were now a new alliance within WCW. But yeah, all of that kind of pales into insignificance when poor Sid's lying there on the mat with his leg in pieces. I wanted to go into this show with high hopes. It was a chance for WCW to start off the new year with a new attitude and a new way of going about things. As usual, the younger guys on the roster did their best to shine and they wanted to show that they deserved a shot to prove themselves in WCW. But the so-called main eventers typically showed up because they were contractually obligated to do so, sleepwalking their way through the matches and really not caring if they put on a good show or not. Compound that with what happened to Sid and yeah, it just leaves a sour taste in your mouth. So there you go, only 2 more WCW pay-per-views to go before the company closes its doors for good, and as always, I'll be there to hold your hand through these choppy waters. Be sure to join me for Reliving the War on Thursday to see the fallout from this disaster piece and get a better idea of how WCW's going to look moving forward. Thank you all so much for watching this one, and please take care.